Are you ready?
Good news, everyone! I'm the surprise in your cereal box. I'm great! Everybody else sucks!
I said, are you ready?
Yes, sir, random kid I just met.
It's Jake Ciely.
Hooray! People are paying attention to me.
That's right! You're always blaming me. So, my reputation exceeds me.
It's time to check the link.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
You know what? You just made the list!
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time.
Really?
No, burn.
What is up, you ducks? It is All in Football. It is a little bit later, so I hope you're still here with us. And it is not Lauren. It is Chris Meaney wearing his Eagles hat, sitting here, probably going to tell me I was right about 5 times when we talked about the game last week. And
yeah.
everybody.
Nailed that.
Yep. If you listen to the industry, you didn't make money. If you listen to me, lots. Congratulations, everybody. Smashed. Look, I broke it down, but we're going to get to that in a second because we're going to talk about teams eliminated, what we're talking about for 2023. Probably not going to get too much into the picks for the 2 games. Going to send that for tomorrow, some props, DFS, all that kind of talk like we've been doing, but different because you're not Lauren, you're Meaney. Here, Chris Meaney. Which, by the way, award nominated again, Chris Meaney, for his show, Mean Streets.
And you too, this show. Congrats.
Well, for 2 things. One is you're on this show, so like who's really... They're getting nominated here.
It's you.
It's your
it's
break.
you.
No. The other part is it doesn't matter anyway. Actually, hold on. Let me rephrase it. It doesn't matter. I'm facing the footballers. I'm facing the footballers. Like I'm coming in second place at best. Like I'm not even going to find out if I'm a second. It's against the footballers. Best podcast of the year. Can I pick another category? Could you put me in the all sports category? So just put me away from them.
And my show is up against 2 CBS sports shows, a Yahoo show, and then our boy, Michael Floria, NFL Network. So it's at least we have to be thrilled that I am anyways, even for you, with this show, all the hard work that you put in and people behind the scenes and Fox and George and Quan and everybody.
Shout out to Fox, help put the clips together.
Yeah.
Did a really good job.
And also like the viewers, right? I mean, listening to the show, rating, review, subscribe. You gave away an Xbox on this show. Are you kidding me? Like, it's been a fun show. It's been a really good year, and I'm glad that you got recognized. And yeah, for sure. But we still did it, and we're happy to be recognized with some of these unbelievable people in the industry, and obviously, top dogs like Yahoo and CBS and fantasy footballers. But we'll see
should just be. CBS, Matthew Berry stopped being in the awards because
he won them all.
Things. Like, he's won so many. Yeah. Brad Evans really isn't in there anymore. Like, basically, if you're in the FSW Hall of Fame, you're pretty much not in the awards, which makes sense. Like, stop, because it is like the same people all the time. Like, footballers should not, like, that almost feels like Patrick Mahomes going and trying to get like the USFL MVP. Like, it's just kind of like,
right,
I'm gonna go with those. I'm gonna get another award to put on my trophy counter over here.
Mean Streets lost last year to Brad Evans' show, and Brad Evans was not saying that Brad picked his own show. I'm sure somebody else was. Like, I know he was part of the committee, and I like Brad. Brad and I get along, so we can joke about it. But I was just like, Brad, you're going to announce the winner of this award, and you are nominated. There's no way you're not picking yourself right now. We had some fun with that one, but he's not nominated this year.
But special shout out, by the way, Nando DeFino in the FSW Hall of Fame now. Yeah, absolutely, and speaking of CBS, Dave Richard in the FSW Hall of Fame. So those award nomination winnings will be February 22nd. I had the research article up there too, which, by the way, so like that's probably going to come in like 3rd or 4th place, whatever it might be. But speaking of coming in 3rd or 4th place, there you go. And the New York Giants. Hey, I told you. I said this works against the Vikings. Their RPO works because you leave the linebacker on an island. He has to account for Saquon Barkley or Daniel Jones 99.9% of the time. He's going to pick Saquon Barkley because you can't let Saquon Barkley run up the middle free. And then that's when Daniel Jones gets his 8-12 rushing yards. And then the passing game opens because of it. What did I tell you about your Eagles? That doesn't work when you have two great corners and you can bring down a safety or another man into the box and account for both of them and then force Jones to pass. This is how it works. That's not where I'm going with this. It's not even like, haha, I told you they were going to get obliterated, because I already did that on Twitter. Here's the question I have for you, Chris. I'm first going to ask you a question, and then I'm curious what your answer is going to be, and then we're going to go with that. As of today, given their performances this weekend, who would you rather have as your quarterback, real life NFL quarterback? Jalen Hurts gets hurt, never plays for you ever again. You have the choice of going to bring in Dak Prescott or Daniel Jones. Who comes in to replace Jalen Hurts?
I think Dak. But it's really close. It really is. Like, I've been pretty impressed with Daniel Jones this year. Coaching. How many times do we say it on the show? Coaching. This guy took care of the football this year. He hardly had any turnovers. This was a guy that had 40 some odd turnovers over the first few seasons. Like, he was a turnover machine. Fumbles, picks. Yeah, he had one in that game. I think it was his first one in like a 7-8 game stretch. I still like Dak as a quarterback. I still believe in him, as a decision maker. But you know what? It's a lot closer. And if you would ask me that this time last year, I wouldn't have even hesitated. I would have just said Dak for sure. But I'll lean here with Dak as the slight edge. But I mean, if you're talking draft capital and pedigree, I mean, Daniel Jones drafted pretty early. Gettleman has to be sitting at home. There has to be part of Gettleman sitting at home. Like, everybody has made fun of this guy, but he's like, wow, some of these pieces that I've drafted and I've taken, like, they're starting to kind of fall into place here a little bit.
I mean, Andrew Thomas was rated as top 10 on certain sites, and Andrew Thomas was the biggest bust of the four big offensive linemen that were taken in that draft. So yeah, of course things could change. I laughed because I laughed at Phil Mike's comment. It's like it's asking do you want to lose as an overdog or lose as an underdog? I mean, it's really
fair.
But
fair. Who would you?
Oh, Dak. And it's not even close, because I think peak Dak is top 10. We've seen peak Dak top 10. I think right now, honestly, the way he played this year, he's 10 to 13, 12, 13 range. Wasn't very good this year. I'll admit, 100%. He actually had the turnovers go up. He tied for the league lead in interceptions with fewer games than Davis Mills, who was tied with him. So, understandably, didn't play well this year. Daniel Jones, the turnovers came down. I just keep going back to, I think Daniel Jones peaks is what we just saw. I think peak Jones is low-end Dak, and that's why. I think the conversation we're having is they're so close is because we saw the good version of Daniel Jones and the bad version of Dak. So that's where I go with it, and of course this leads to where the Giants go from here. So if you are the Giants, and this is going to start to tie into fantasy, but if you are the Giants, do you try to bring back Daniel Jones? If you are Chris Meaney, if you are Joe Sheen, you're the GM, are you bringing back Daniel Jones? First question, and then there's going to be a follow-up.
Yeah, I would bring him back.
There's the easy version. Sell me on Daniel Jones, because everybody knows. I want to make this clear. I even said this on Twitter yesterday. I don't hate Daniel Jones. I hate calling him a top 10 quarterback. I hate calling him a franchise quarterback. I hate giving him 5 years, $150+ million for somebody who, let's be honest, Daniel Jones is mid. He's mid. Yeah. Hello, fellow kids. That's a term for everybody out there. Actually, I got that from wrestling.
Now I understand what that means, mid. Now I get it. I hear these kids talk about it all the time. No, kidding. I have an idea.
So that's my problem. It's I even said this to our former, I was about to call him former friend, but former coworker, Greg Sussman. If they signed Daniel Jones for 3 years, $100 million, fine, holdover. That was what I said they should do with Jimmy Garoppolo. My problem again is top 10 career franchise, blah, blah. So sell me on what you see from Daniel Jones, and you better not fall back on the weapons argument. Don't stop with that. I'm so tired of it. He had no weapons. Tom Brady had no weapons. Aaron Rodgers had no weapons. All these other quarterbacks had no weapons. He didn't average a touchdown per game. No weapons. He had Saquon Barkley, top 5 running back in the NFL, who opened up the offense for him.
And that's two decisions you're going to have to make, right? As a New York organization, you can franchise tag one of these guys. You franchise tag Saquon for the 1 year, and then figure it out a year after that. Maybe sign Daniel Jones to a 3 or 5 year deal. But I mean, quarterbacks make so much money. I mean, I'm looking at all the quarterback contracts. It's just you just know that this guy is probably going to get high 20s a year, isn't he? Isn't he going to get the high 20s?
Well,
30?
so Carson Wentz is in the mid to high 20s. Ryan Tannehill is mid-high 20s. Garoppolo was in the teens. Geno Smith was in the single digits because nobody thought he was going to be. I'm talking about starting quarterbacks. And we talked about this yesterday.
I mean, Tannehill's 29, Ryan's 30, Goff's 33. Like, you just feel like he's getting at least 30.
Well, so that's what I'm saying.
It does
3 years, 100. I'd be okay with. It's the 5 years. It's time with this franchise quarterback. So fantasy-wise, I will buy into Daniel Jones because I will take Daniel Jones over Derek Carr. I will take Daniel Jones over Jimmy Garoppolo. I'll take Daniel Jones over a lot of people because we talk about it all the time as the rushing upside. When you combine the two, which, by the way, still doesn't even get him to 4,000 yards, but the rushing upside of what he brings and the rushing touchdowns. So would you consider Daniel Jones with the improvement with Brian Dable? Do you think he's a QB1 heading into next year if he's back with the Giants?
Yeah, from a fantasy standpoint, yeah, I do. Year 2 in the offense, I think they're going to bring him back, man. I really do. I think you kind of have to bring up the weapons. I understand where you're saying it's not just weapons. You got Saquon there, but let's be honest about the weapons. And if they decide to bring him back, which I do believe they will, because what's the alternative? You just mentioned kind of Derek Carr. What really is the alternative for this team? I don't think there's a significant upgrade through free agency. But if you're not getting Tom Brady.
But if you told me 5 for 155 versus 3 for 100 for Garoppolo, I would take Garoppolo. Just because I don't want to be tied to Jones long term.
I might do that too.
Fantasy wise, I agree with you.
I may do that too. I think it's like maybe a short term thing. Maybe Jones can't be the franchise quarterback, but maybe he doesn't have upside to be top 10, but I think he could live in that, what you said, the mid range of like anywhere from 12 to 17. Saw the improvement this year. Year 2 with Daboll. I mean, Slayton is a free agent. Sterling Shepard's a free agent. Richie James is a free agent. Let's bring some weapons in, surround him.
Well, Wan'Dale's going to come back from injury.
Wan'Dale's going to come back.
Isaiah Hodgins, although there's a redundancy there because Hodgins is best out of the slot, and Wan'Dale Robinson. Like that's going to be interesting. I think Hodgins ideally is their 4 with Wan'Dale Robinson, similar to basically like a different version of Gabriel Davis, but the Gabriel Davis Isaiah McKenzie kind of mix is like you want them further down the list. And Bellinger can come through. They clearly need a wide receiver. If Addison falls to them in the first round, I could say whether or not they want to go there in the first. They have a lot of options. They got some options, a lot of needs too.
Yeah,
a lot of things.
Kadarius Toney, they got a couple picks back from Tony too, so they're going to.
Let me follow up on the Daniel Jones and say, would you still consider Daniel Jones as a QB1 without Barkley? Because that's big. This is you, and I go back to this. I'm going back to the real life standpoint of it. Is watch the Eagles game and watch the Vikings game. You see the difference when, again, you are able to account for both of them in the RPO. Barkley still had, he averaged almost like 9 yards a carry, and he had another couple receptions. He had limited touches in that game, but still did his thing. Granted, it came off a few big plays, but, that's the same argument people make for a lot of running backs. That's part of his talent. So let's say they let Barkley walk, don't bring it to Jacobs, don't do anything, and they just kind of play this, what a lot of NFL teams do. Ooh, here's an interesting one. They go sign Tony Pollard off an injury, and it's Tony Pollard and Matt Breida in the back. Like, are you still going to like Daniel Jones as much, basically without Barkley?
I don't know if I would. I'd like, you could make the case that he'd run more, right? When Saquon was out a couple years ago, we saw him, run a lot, and even with Saquon, he had 700 rushing yards. A lot of it was like scramble yards, but I would like to see like the offense. Like, you got to have pieces of this offense. I mean, Pollard is a nice back, but coming off the injury, to your point, like Saquon is just such a beast, and we saw it this year. It opens up the offense, opportunities to move the football, to catch the ball to the backfield. You just bank on like 50 plus grabs from this guy, and it just helps out the offense altogether. So I would feel a little bit, I wouldn't like him as much if there's no Saquon, because you'd have to downgrade the offense. I'd say they keep both. I think they franchise. I'd like to hear your thoughts, but I'd say they franchise tag one of them. I would say they tag Barkley,
whether he plays on it or not. Jones would be 32 million. Well, 31.7.
31 points.
And
yeah.
For everybody out there, franchise tag versus signing a contract, you can push money to bonuses and spread it out and way more in the second year. That for a franchise, that all gets slapped onto the tag. Boom, done. So that really hamstrings them.
And it's not even, you're seeing a lot of running backs hold out too. Like, it's not even a lock if they want to franchise tag him, that Saquon, there could be some bad blood there. So they definitely have an interesting situation on their hands, but I would say they tag Saquon and they sign.
Bad blood.
I'd say they signed your boy Jones 3 to 5 years. My guess would be 5, and I think Giants fans probably, to your point, want 3. But my guess is
5 years.
It's going to be a 5-year deal.
Go Duvall. I think they'll continue to ride the campaign for the Jaguars if that happens. So let's talk about the other eliminated teams. Speaking of, and I threw that out there for the transition to the Jaguars. Oh, real quick, I see that Kyle Woods playing the one and done. You got to wait on that. They're saying if you waited for the AFC side for Mahomes, and then the line is moved 5. That's part of the other reason we're waiting till tomorrow. I think that's more of just playing through the injury. I'm waiting. There's no way I want to use Henny too.
I mean, if you listen to Tony Romo doesn't think this guy's going to play. But I think he's going to power through. But what Romo said on the broadcast is, listen, I've had a high ankle sprain. He's going to be in a lot of pain tomorrow. He's going to play through this through adrenaline, get shots, which he did. He's going to be in a ton of pain tomorrow. He's going to be on crutches on Wednesday. He's not going to be able to practice all week. And he's not going to be anywhere close to like 75% come game.
I just want to know, can we get whatever shot it is in Nicole's ankle for whatever it is? Because they gave her the cortisone shot and it barely helped. Whatever they gave Mahomes, whatever they gave the players were like the super duper cortisone or whatever it is.
Juice.
Yeah, can we get that, like cute, like regular everyday people going to the doctor's office and get that? Because I just wanted to
get a shot in my hip so I can get up out of bed. Yeah, get a shot in Nicole's ankle because she's gonna have to be on that dance floor all night.
I know. I just wanted to be able to walk and dance. I'm not even worried about the honeymoon part at this point. Like this, Italy's year 2. Well, I guess year 1, first anniversary. Like that's off the table at this point from the walking standpoint. Anyway, Trevor Lawrence, clearly. So I have an article at The Athletic today. It's what I do every year now. This is actually Nando's idea. The projection look back and like where I hit closest, where I missed wildly. So because there's a lot in the range of like 5, 10, 15%. So like Trevor Lawrence nailed. They're super got it right. And I talked about it. I was like, don't dismiss what a coaching change can do. We saw the bad. Russell Wilson's in this article too. You can see where the coaching change is terrible, and part of it was switching teams, but like what coaches can do good and bad. For Lawrence, is it not just that, but have we seen enough with Doug Peterson, from Trevor Lawrence himself, from Kirk's addition, which everybody laughed about the contract at the time, but they traded for Calvin Ridley. Like, is there enough here that we're now going to go into 2023? Every single ranking out there is going to have Trevor Lawrence as a top 10 quarterback. Or
they should.
Not? Okay.
They should. If you don't see Trevor Lawrence as ranked as a top 10 quarterback, I mean, he finished as a top 10 quarterback this year, right? So I think it'd be silly not to. We were both spot on about him and Fields. They were 16 and 17. I went back and looked about a month ago as well. High stakes leagues the last 6 weeks heading into the actual NFL season. So a great sample size of drafts. Fields was quarterback 16. Trevor Lawrence was quarterback 17. Both of these guys took the leap forward. I would rather both than say like Justin Herbert. I still think Justin Herbert will probably go ahead of those guys. Allen and Hurts and Mahomes, and depending on the Lamar situation, these guys, Burrow, these guys are going to go first. It's that next tier that I'm going to be super excited about. Trevor Lawrence, I still think there's more room for him to grow, man. What a player. I think he's going to start to run a little bit more as he gets comfortable in the pocket. You're going to add Calvin Ridley, as you mentioned, Christian Kirk. We can all laugh about Kirk and Evan Ingram, those signings. They seem like really good signings. Those players added a lot to their offense this season. So Travis Etienne is an absolute beast, and Doug Peterson is a heck of a coach, man.
Let me ask you about Etienne. Etienne, is he more, as of today, is he more of a fringe RB1 or is he more of a mid-low RB2 for you?
I would say, you know what? I'll probably say 2 because there are a lot of good backs that I feel I would probably give the benefit of the doubt over him, but I wouldn't have him like outside top 15. The one thing I did notice in that game last week, and somebody brought it up to me, is like, why is Hasty on the field so much? Better pass blocker. He was on the field in third down situation. He was on the field a lot in that game in the second half. As a guy who had Travis Etienne catch prop, we got it early. I needed one more receiving yard, and I'm like, what the heck is Hasty on the field the entire time?
Do you want
third down situation, second down?
Do you want to know the random signing I threw out the other day?
Who?
Kareem Hunt to the Jaguars.
Oh, man. That would stink for Etienne, but it'd be a really good real life situation for Jacksonville.
Right. Just the compliment.
Fantastic. Absolutely. That's a really
but I
good
think what you
punch.
brought up is the reason I asked the question, is because it's the twofold. Is we've seen the effects of Etienne getting 20 plus touches and his body and his ability to be able to withstand that. And then, as you brought up, it's the pass catching side of it, or pass blocking side of it, which limits the pass catching opportunities because he's not on the field. He is a good pass catcher. He's a threat.
He's great.
So I think that's why I think of him as an RB2. Ingram's a free agent. Ridley, we're going to have a whole offseason to talk about that. This is the Michael Thomas.
It'll be interesting to see where he falls. Like, are you going to be more interested in Ridley, or like, who do you think goes higher in drafts next year, Kirk or Ridley?
Oh, it'll still be Kirk, but Ridley will be close.
It should be Kirk. But it'll be tight, right?
I mean, this goes back to the Michael Thomas of, like, he wasn't even that great before he got hurt. He was starting to fall off.
Seen him play in like 2 years.
It was the whole Kenny Handel being the number one and all that. All right, so let's talk about Buffalo. Huge letdown again, unfortunately for them. But I mean, hey, go for me. I had the Bengals beating your Eagles, so you don't like that. But so far, I'm rolling. The only miss I have so far is the Buccaneers losing to the Cowboys. I'm like my bracket outside of that is like spot on.
The Bills, I had the Bills going the distance, so that one hurts. It's the only one that I got, but it's the one you don't want to get wrong.
Right. So we have Josh Allen. We know Stephon Diggs. So there's two questions with the Bills only. Is this now James Cook backfield? Is it his lead? And it's still a split. This is still a maddening backfield because Devin Singletary's in that article about the projections too. But is James Cook the lead for 2023? And is Gabe Davis a potential value next year because of how this is going to be last year's trash? This is like everybody got super excited. Gabe Davis, wide receiver 20 is too low. And then, man, that was a letdown.
He has a case with the dropsies, man. Like we saw it again. It was like Allen gave him a nice ball. Like that was a great ball on the sidelines. And Gabe Davis has got to reel that in. And if you ask a lot of Bills fans, they'll tell you like Gabe Davis cannot catch a pass. He still had a decent season, 7 touchdowns. You're right. He was a letdown. This guy had so much hype after that 4 touchdown game the last time we saw him. I would say that the Bills are going to add a back. I think that they will. Singletary is a free agent. I don't know if they just roll out Cook. But you know what? It doesn't matter because this team needs to change their philosophy. They have to have a run game. I can't take them serious if they're not going to have a run game. It's been like this for 3 or 4 years now. They had a playoff game against the Colts where they didn't have one rushing attempt in the first half. I can't take a team like that serious. Right. You saw that Bengals were able to run the ball, run the football.
Are you about to tell me running backs matter? Is that what you're telling me?
I'm about to tell you that like you have to run. Like look at the Eagles. Look at the Niners. These are two teams that live off of running the football, old school football. I know that the NFL has changed and quarterbacks drop them back and chucking. It's a passing league, but there's something satisfying to see a team sit back and run the ball behind a good offensive line, have some balance.
Let me throw this one out to you. I don't see it happening, but just if it did, we know this backfield, Josh Allen kind of caps a lot of what the upside is. Why the Devin Singletary, the split, the workload is split. But Devin Singletary 2021, the stretch run at the end of the season, we remember RB1 because he was really the only option there. If they surprised us, if the Bills shocked the world, sign Barkley, Jacobs, somebody like that.
Holy crap.
I would really take their team.
Response? I would take them.
Barry, James Cook and top 5 running back?
Absolutely. I would. I think that, they would have to run the football a little bit more. Maybe they just don't like their backs. I don't know. Like if you have a guy like that and you spend money to go get that guy, then absolutely. But there's a lot more holes in this team than I think people really dive into. Like is Gabe Davis an actual number 2? He's a big play guy, but is he a solid number 2? I don't think so. And they brought back all the same pieces that they had a couple years ago. What the heck? John Brown, Cole Beasley? Are you kidding me with this? Like those guys were great a couple years ago. Yeah. They need a number 2 opposite of Diggs. And they need a run game. If it's just Cook, I'll feel pretty good about him being an RB2. You'll still have some games where he maybe has like 9 or 10 carries and Allen's getting all the rushing attempts. But if they bring somebody in or draft somebody, then I wouldn't bank on them listening to the show and taking our advice, but I would say that they probably feel like they need a more balanced attack offense. And that's what they need, in my opinion.
People will lose their mind if they draft like Addison's not. They're not going to do it first round. But like, I think
they should take a wide receiver though,
like Quentin maybe, or maybe JSN from Ohio State because they sound like he's dropping. But like again, they don't need Diggs. So
They did spend high capital on Cook, though, right? To your point. Yeah. I mean, what, second round pick last year? They do have future.
So we're spit over, but real quick before we get out of here, we already covered Dak, and we already talked like fantasy-wise, like still fringe QB1. Zeke, Pollard got hurt. Pollard's a free agent, by the way. I think a lot of people missed that. I think a lot of people missed that Pollard's a free agent. Like, oh, this is going to be a split backfield. What are they going to do with Zeke? Blah, blah, blah. And they're like, what if they cut Zeke? They're like, Pollard's a free agent. They're not cutting Zeke. Do they try to restructure? No. Sure. But the injury to Pollard leaves things up in the air. CeeDee Lamb was CeeDee Lamb. Dalton Schultz was Dalton Schultz. Is real quick before we get are the Cowboys, the Bills, like their answer at number 2 is not there? Or is it maybe Jalen Turnbull takes this huge second-year leap? Or is like they are another team just like the Bills that need an answer at number 2?
That's what I think, Jake. Yeah, what you just said. I mean, Michael Gallup signed this deal, and I know he came off a significant injury. He had more games with 0 yards than 50 yards. Yeah, he doesn't look the same. They need a number 2. You know who they need?
Actually, I don't think Gallup and Gabe Davis are too much of a similar.
No, you're right. They're probably very similar. Like they're like nice complementary pieces, but they're not number 2s. Dallas needs a number 2 significantly, and you saw it in that game. CD, double-digit targets. They needed somebody else to step up. You know who they needed? And they may have won the game if they had him? Amari Cooper. They just let go of Amari Cooper, and they didn't replace Amari Cooper. They had all that cap space. What for? It's just so weird that Jerry had this cap. There's going to be a documentary that comes out in 15 years, and it's whatever happened with Amari Cooper and Jerry or Dak. Like something happened because I don't know why they just let him go. I don't get it because they didn't really replace him. You can't tell me that they repled him with Tolbert in the draft.
Did you see the Dallas Cowboys tweets? So maybe Jerry's in control of the Twitter account, and that's what it was.
He just completely threw Dak under the bus. It's crazy. They still haven't deleted that tweet. I would be pissed off if I was Dak. I'd be bummed if I was a Dak supporter. I would be ticked if I was like a member of if I was Dak's teammate. I'd be pissed. Like, yeah, he threw 2 picks. And maybe it cost him the game, but the game was there for the take, and the D played well. It's a good defense. It's not all on Dak, is it? Anyways, I'm defending
before we
the Cowboys
get out of
more
here,
than
the reason I just said, oh my God, as we ended this show a little bit late, so this is the time we wouldn't have had this timing if not for this. I just saw Mike Kafka's second interview with the Texans for the head coaching job.
You're gonna lose him.
I don't want to already lose Kafka. Talk about a big reason. Kafka was the play caller, by the way, for the Giants, not Dable.
Yeah, you're right.
We lose. Put it this way. I will say this right now. Here we go. Finish out the show. I can conclude with my Daniel Jones hate for everybody. The Giants lose Kafka and Barkley. Daniel Jones is not a QB1 next year in fantasy.
It's hard to argue right now. It's hard to argue that. If they lose their play caller and their running back.
And Saquon Barkley? Yeah. I don't care even if they draft Jordan Addison. Speaking of good calls, follow Chris Meaney at Chris Meaney. Watch Mean Streets. Watch... Did you guys decide on a T-shirt yet for Dangle Bet?
We are deciding on Thursday. We're waiting a couple more votes that'll come in, and we'll decide on Thursday. Eric's got his hands full.
You can vote.
I agree.
Check out the hockey picks over there. Code all in, get you 20% FTN will be back tomorrow. Meaney and myself.
Yes.
We'll be doing preview for the next round, picks like DFS, all that type of stuff. We'll see you later.
Cheers.